Hello there, welcome to Treptalk. I remain Modella. We're here to distill another wonderful experience from entrepreneurs, business leaders, change agents, and of course, experts, professionals from different and diverse fields. Today I have an entrepreneur, I have a business leader, and of course, a change agent. 3 in 1 body. I have Mr. Osifo Samson, an accountant and a financial management expert and good communicator with strong persuasion and negotiation skills. Formerly the financial director of Osifo Limited and also a senior consultant with Emma Elliott and Associates, where he specialized in investigating financial statements and debt recovery. Osifo Samson is the founder of FOSAP Institute, where he lectures financial management, taxation, financial reporting, and management accounting. He was also formerly the account officer of Amingo International Limited, and presently he's the principal partner of Osifo Samson Co, a financial management and tax consultant firm whose analysts and consultants specialize in management, accounting, corporate, and managerial finance. If I could go on and on, you understand where we are going. Welcome to Treptalk, sir. It's good to have you here again, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, now let's go deeply into how it all began for you as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. What really happened was this. Actually, I started as an accountant. I have a degree in accounting. I have a master in accounting. I belong to one or two professional bodies in accounting. But I discovered one thing, that a lot of people are into accounting services. And I realized that for me to really make a waves in accounting will take a while. So I decided to deviate or go into refinancing. And by doing so, I have to go back to school. I went back to LASU to take an MBA in financial management. I later moved to Covenant University to have an MSc again in finance. I want to really understand what finance was all about and how I can relate that into the activities of banking practice. So I went back to also do a professional course in banking that made me a chartered banker. I again moved further to have a PhD in credit management. Now that changed my normatives from accounting to finance. And that really gave me an understanding into the activities of banking generally. Now, ab initio, most banks always use lawyers as their recovery agents and their receiver manager. That is a major barrier that I see when I was starting. Actually, I'm 12 years ago now, that I went to Afribank and I was telling them that I can recover for them. And the head of recovery then, at the time was my friend, he drove me out. So what are you talking about? What is this guy talking about? I said, what can you do? Get out from here, do you know what you are saying? So, my manager at that time told me inside the car that he cannot continue this the way that the job is done. But the only thing you need to do, you must have a passion in what you do. And you must believe in yourself in totality. That you are the best. And what makes you the best is inside of you. And that is what keeps me going. And today the rest is history.
That's an impressive startup story for you. But before you diverged into being an accountant, or should I say a banker, as the case may be, what exactly did you have in mind to become?
You must be at every time a strategist. You must try to understand what the environment is lacking. If you are not a problem solver, you become a problem to the environment and society. Now, there are a lot of people that have made landmark in accounting. There are a lot of people today that they have a big firm in accounting. And I thought to myself that I want to have a name. And I decided to change my scope and strategy from accounting to finance. Now, that is what I've discovered. That, quote and unquote, nobody is saving people that are owing the bank. So those are the things that I've tried to be identified with.
I like that. It shows that you're really passionate. Like you said, be passionate. Now, the second question goes there. I said, what was your biggest haha or nailing moment as an entrepreneur? What was like the biggest time you felt like you pat yourself at the back and like, Samson, you've done something?
Yeah. I will not mention the name of the company because of ethics.
Okay.
But this company was owning a bank, and the directors and everybody came to our firm, and we were appointed. And I've been issued before they came. The bank have sealed off their company because they were owing. The company have about 20,000 staffs at that time. And all the staffs were laid off because the companies were owing. Now, correlatively, when you look at the amount of the money the company was owing at that time, was less than 1 billion.
Wow.
Now, the assets of the company at that time is over 20 billion. Now, they drove the company, they drove all their staffs out, and they rendered that place useless for 6 months. Now, within that period, the company came to us and they said they needed our service. Professionally, we put up a letter to the bank. I've been issued the lawyer, the bank already have a receiver manager on the job. I made my stand and put the banking practice in place that what the bank has done is wrong. The bank accepted that, and the court also admitted that, and the company was open. Now, it gives me so much joy that the company was open. The company is open back and is now a going concern. Now, it is not running the service any longer, but the joy it gave me is as if I've earned myself 20 billion. Because that was the reason why I started this firm. And that gave me a lot of joy that I've achieved the reason why I set up this firm. And from that day, I tell myself, it's not enough. There are other people too there that are in this situation. How do we revive them and come back, and they come back into business? So, and that is what we have been trying to do.
Okay, now for the purpose of our audience, actually, who has they've been willing to, I know they were like, but they're like just asking about the successes and all that. Now, the purpose of Treptalk, I should remind you, is to talk about successes and also setbacks. Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about the greatest failure, your setbacks. What did you learn from it?
Yeah, I've just told you before that when we started, I went to a bank, a former Afri bank to mention, and I said to the recovery head that I can render the service, even don't pay me, but I will render it free, just for them to know that it is possible for a banker to practice. But most people believe that the service is only meant for lawyers. Funny enough, the guy drove me away, and even has the security, because it was the head office, and he has the security to ask us to go. Now, the problem is this, challenges are part of life. You must be able to look at strategies to solve a problem. Now, when the challenges came, what I did was that I went back home, and I gave myself a week. I went to home and put on my best attire, and I went back to the place. Funny enough, the man did not recognize me any longer. And at the end of the day, they gave me the job. Another challenges that I also faced when I was starting at that time, I did a job for a man. He happened to be well known in Nigeria. I put everything I could to make sure that the job the bank approved the facility, the bank approved the amount of money so that we can go and pay. And we did that job successfully. And I promised the firm that is going to pay. My mind was also there, being what do you call it, someone that just coming into business.
A startup.
Yes. And what I was just trying to prove at that time was to prove to the society that we can do it. Now we have a memorandum with him, and to today, he did not pay the money. Personally, it was painful because I look at it that maybe you don't have anybody, but also it's also a landmark for me. That is, I proved to him that I can do it. No, so it's also a great challenge because when you look at what you have invested, and at the end of the day, that individual did not pay you. At the end of the day, it's also a barrier or a challenge, and those are the things you need to control in future. When you render a service, how they can't pay you, because at the end of the day, you have family to take care of. So those are the two barriers I've seen when we were starting.
Such a real great one. Wow, that's awesome. We'll be back after the break to hear more from Mr. Osifo Samson. Don't touch the dial. I'll be back. Welcome back to Treptalk. I am still with Mr. Samson Osifo, or should I say Mr. Osifo Samson? Which do you prefer comes first?
Osifo.
Okay, Mr. Osifo Samson. And he was just talking about his challenges. He just talked about his challenges actually. Now let's hear. Sir, now having shared all this, there should be a time, a touching time, probably a touching experience that made you cry during this your trip journey. I think we should talk about that.
We're running foundation here now. And that is what made me cry. I realized that an average Nigerian that God has blessed, they are very greedy, they are very self-centered. Now they believe that it is their job or their work that makes them to be where they are, but forgetting that it's God. I happened to be the president of one of the estates where I live, and an incident happened one day. I was already in the office and I was called because I was the president of the estate at that time. And the man came into the estate to cut the grass. He was not the resident of the estate. And as I was cutting the grass, an high tension fell on the man and the man died immediately. And I was called upon. So that day when I saw the man, I cried. That has the man offended anybody? To me, that situation happened to him. So I called the family and I said I'm going to give 2 of the sons scholarship. Now, I look at it that we are greedy in our environment, that nobody is helping each other. And that is a barrier to me. So from that time, I started my foundation. And if you look at it now, emotionally,
I think you're still remembering it.
I'm also remembering it. Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So that is what makes me cry. During, aside from that, there is nothing. The job, I know the tricks and the way and manner we can handle the job. I know it very well. That was my the reason that really touched me and that makes me cry.
Indeed, it's really touching.
Yes.
Okay, moving forward now.
Yes.
Now, what motivates you or drives you? I mean, even when it's rough, what keeps you going?
Is knowledge.
Knowledge.
Yes. You know, accumulating of knowledge gives you confidence. When you have absolute confidence in yourself, it empowers you indirectly to do things. So you need to understand the job you are into, and what will make you to understand those jobs is accumulation of knowledge you have. Then you put that on the table and you achieve any result you want to achieve.
That's it, knowledge. I think that surmounts it all. Okay, now let's move forward. Now we understand that you've talked about your challenges and of course what has keeps you going and all that. Now let's talk about the biggest mistake you've actually made in your trek journey, and if you were given any other opportunity to correct that mistake, what would you do?
If I can recall, the greatest mistake I made is to call some of my friends to join me when I started. and it became a barrier. When I started, I called some of those people that went to school together, and it became a barrier to me because that becomes in the office, and I begin to have two entities in the office. Now, what was not necessary was discussed, so there was no focus any longer, and a lot of things was coming up, and which I don't like. I look at it as the greatest mistake I've made. So I will not call a friend to the business, rather I engage people that are capable. So that have taught me a great lesson in life.
What if friends becomes very good ones?
And you know, the thing is this, you need to understand that if an individual has been your friend for a while, if he's not doing the job properly and you try to complain, look as if you are trying to be rude to your friend. And before you know it, he or she take it personal. And you begin to look at it from the angle that because you have the opportunity now, and that is why you are just talking or making those decisions. So those things has happened to me in the past, and that is why I'm saying that those are the greatest mistakes I made, and which I don't want to go back again.
So now, sir, if I have to ask you, you've been in business over a decade now, but if you could think back to when you started, has there been any time you felt like quitting?
Anything you want to do, you must love it. Now, I love what I'm doing, and I have passion for it. My job is like my life.
Thank you very much, sir, for that.
Yeah.
Now, I really want to go in deeper into the challenges. Now, a lot of people, especially undergraduates of nowadays, and even graduates, they find it difficult to go into business because of one thing: capital, finance. I want to know, yes, that's what they complain about recently. If you've been resuscitating yourself with youths of nowadays.
Capital is not a yardstick to go into business.
Okay.
What you need to go into business is passion and idea. Do you really have the capacity to go into a business? No. Now, when you are talking about an undergraduate or a graduate that want to go into a business, now you need to understand something here. If you cannot manage your life, it's very difficult for you to manage people. And if you cannot manage people, it's very difficult for you to own a business. Because the kind of business you are going to go into, you are going to be managing people.
Okay.
No, the thing is this.
Okay.
I started from home. I never owned an office. My first secretary was my wife. I started from home. I went from home to AfriBank. So I never owned an office. But I have the passion. And the idea was there. So it's from those jobs that I got that I used to rent an office.
Okay. All right. I think that was deep. Well. Okay, we'll take a break again, and when we're back, we're going to delve a little into his line. Don't touch the dial, I'll be back. Welcome back, this is still Treptalk, and we are still distilling another wonderful experience from an entrepreneur. Permit me to call you henceforth a guru, a financial guru. If it's okay with you. Okay, now let's delve into your professionalism. Okay. As a certified chartered banker, the financial guru condemns the act of banking, sealing and repossessing properties lodged as collateral from customers who default in loan facilities. Okay, now based on your experience, now, how were you able to handle such acts and consequence upon, hundreds of staff that are known to be thrown into the labor market as a result of that?
That is my area of passion.
Okay.
Now, the message we are passing here, which we are selling to most of the banks now, including AMCON now, is that there must be an alternative for recovery. That's what we are selling now.
Okay.
Now, if I go to a court and I get a judgment, and the government is saying that we want to reduce unemployment, and the said company is employing about 20,000 staffs. Immediately you got a judgment, the fate of those staff died, and you throw them back into a labor market, and you find out that some lawyers enjoy doing this, and that is our pressure now. The alternative to recovery, because financial system gives back to economy system, means if these people have not gone to borrow money from the bank, they won't want those companies today. So financial system always brings policy to economic system implementation. So what am I trying to say in essence is this: if a company is sealed off by banks, the first thing we will do is to first understand why would the bank seal off the company. The bank only have right to seal off the company if a client has committed what we call bankruptcy act.
Okay.
The bank don't have the right to seal off the company if the client or if the customer has not committed a bankruptcy act. But the problem is this: a lawyer goes to court and tell the court what has not happened. What we do is to put up also a letter that we counter the petition the lawyer has put in, and to also explain to the court why we are going to pay the money and the plan at which we are going to use to pay the money. And we have done that for over 500 clients now that we have done that for. And that makes me happy that the company is on sale and the stars come back to life and the company becomes going concern. We have done that for over 500.
Awesome. That's very impressive. Well done. Now, concerning the prevailing issue of in the financial sector, now why banks fail, especially the liquidity management crisis in the commercial banks in Nigeria.
Okay.
What's your take on this?
Now, that is what we appreciate now. Now, banking is all about saving money, depositing money, and keeping money. Now, it shows that in all banking practice, what they are into in general is liquidity. What am I trying to say? Liquidity is the life wire for any bank to run. So, if any bank is merging or any bank is liquidating, it shows that they don't have enough liquidity with them. But let me tell you one reason why bank fail today. Bank focus on assets more than liquidity. That's why they fail. That is the most first reason why they fail, apart from the not performing loan. Now, we are the same economy, and you want me to pay 25% as interest of 1 billion I want to collect from you for a business. I've been issue, you know that I cannot pay that money. I've been issue. You want me now to bring a property that worth 2 billion. In what economy can such man make 25% interest on loan? So in the long run, the man that the bank want to give the facility have also programmed his mind that is giving the property off to the bank. That's what I'm preaching.
Very good point. Accounting. I hope you're enjoying the show, my viewers. Now, Sarah, let's talk about success. Now, if you ask me before you speak, I would say your success can be mentioned by what you've actually talked about. But I guess you have a lot to say. So let me ask you, what's your own definition of success?
Success to me is happiness. Success to me is when you set out a goal and achieve the target or achieve the goal is success to me. And what makes you happy from your inside is success. Now, you know, in this kind of world, people always refer success to money. You may have money and you may not be successful. Now, how successful you are is going to be determined by time. People will make reference to you with time. The only thing is this: you just need to keep moving and have a direction. Once you have a direction, success is knocking at your door.
Now, I would love to tell my audience, if I didn't tell you before, Mr. Osifo Samson is actually the father, a husband, and of course, he's a business leader. Like you have heard him saying all this while. Now, I need to ask you, how are you able to combine these three great professions? Being a father, being a husband, of course, being a financial guru, like I called you.
Now, the thing you need to understand is this: for every man to be a successful entrepreneur, you must be able to manage your own effectively.
Okay.
And managing your own effectively translates into the business you do. I told you initially that my first secretary was my wife because I started from home. And you must also let your family know that this is the kind of career you've chosen. And you must also let them understand that you have a passion to do this. And that is what I made them to know. And I have support from my wife and my family. And they are my best people. And that I've translated into what I do. So you must be able to manage people. And your ability to manage people determine how long you go in life. So that is just that.
I love that. So that's a very wonderful one. Finally, on today's show, I would like to ask you one beautiful question. What advice, what piece of advice would you give to young people who look up to you and who want to be a successful entrepreneur?
Now, just as I've said before, what will make you to be a successful entrepreneur? The first thing you need to know, you need to seek for knowledge in anything you want to do. Then the second thing is that you must have passion. Then the third thing is that you must believe in yourself absolutely. Then the third thing is that you must be a solution provider. Now, if you married all these things into a context,
Okay.
you become a successful entrepreneur.
Awesome. That's just brief and direct. Thank you very much, sir, for coming today. And I forgot to tell you, it's a really great honor for me to be sitting next to you to have this conversation with you. I'm really, really happy to be sitting with you. Thank you very much, sir. Wow, audience, I had a swampy time actually, with Mr. Osifo Samson. And I'm sure you too had a very wonderful time. Like he said, to young entrepreneurs and to everybody out there, I believe it's not just for the entrepreneurs, but for people who are willing to sit on this same chair in future. He said, be knowledgeable. He said, associate yourself with people who have like minds, and of course, believe in yourself, and of course, be a solution provider. I loved today's episode on Treptalk. Until I see you next time, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube handle at TrepAfrica, on Instagram at TrepAfrica, and of course on Facebook at TrepAfrica. I remain Modella, your favorite host, and I'll see you next time. Peace.